Welcome to episode 36 of the Security Matters podcast, where we bring you the latest news, views and opinion from across the UK's dedicated security business sector. My name's Brian Sims and I'm the editor of Security Matters magazine. We're delighted that this podcast is sponsored by the Security Event, which runs at the NEC in Birmingham from the 28th to the 30th of April 2026. Security Matters is once again serving as the lead media partner for the exhibition. To register for the show, visit www.thesecurityevent.co.uk. Focusing on the news now, and the Board of Directors has appointed Sarah Austerberry as CEO of the Security Institute following a 4-month period in the role of interim CEO and having served as a Director and Vice Chair of the organisation. Austerberry has forged a distinguished and extensive career in the security sector spanning more than 25 years, having worked across government, critical national infrastructure and private industry. Austerberry is a chartered security professional, a Fellow of the Security Institute and a Principal of the Register of Security Engineers and Specialists. Over the past 4 months as interim CEO, Austerberry has led the Institute with clarity, professionalism and vision, in turn strengthening engagement with members and partners alike and ensuring the continued delivery of high-quality professional development and support for the security community. Julie Nell, Chair of the Board, commented, "After careful deliberation, the Board is confident that Sarah's extensive experience, proven leadership and passion for advancing professional standards make her the right person to lead the Institute going forward." Reflecting on her appointment, Sarah Austerberry noted, "It's a tremendous honour to be appointed CEO of the Security Institute. Over the past months, I've witnessed the dedication, expertise and professionalism that define our members and our community. I look forward to continuing to build on this strong foundation in collaboration with the head office team, all the while supporting our members, advancing our shared mission and promoting excellence and integrity across the security profession." In addition, Chris Stevens and Hayley Elvins have been appointed Vice Chairs of the organisation, James Bohr is welcomed as an Independent Director and Oliver Lacey takes on the role of Independent Advisor. The Institute will now continue its focus on strengthening member engagement, expanding professional development opportunities and advancing collaboration across the wider security sector. The National Cyber Security Centre has dealt with an average of 4 nationally significant cyber attacks every week in the year to September. In its latest annual review, the UK's Cyber Agency, itself part of GCHQ, has revealed that the cyber threats facing the UK continue to escalate. Indeed, the National Cyber Security Centre dealt with 204 nationally significant cyber attacks perpetrated against the UK in the 12 months leading up to August this year. That represents a sharp rise from the 89 attack episodes recorded in the previous 12 months. Of the total of 429 incidents that have been handled, 18 were categorised as highly significant, meaning that they had the potential to exert a serious impact on essential services. This marks an almost 50% increase on incidents of the second highest level categorisation when compared with the previous year, and what's more, an increase for the 3rd year in succession. A substantial proportion of all incidents handled by the National Cyber Security Centre last year were linked to advanced persistent threat actors. The focus here is on either nation-state actors or highly capable criminal groups. Dr. Richard Horne, CEO of the National Cyber Security Centre, stated, "Cybersecurity is now a matter of business survival and national resilience. With over half of the incidents handled by the National Cyber Security Centre deemed to be nationally significant and a 50% rise in highly significant attacks on last year, our collective exposure to serious impacts is growing at an alarming pace." Horne continued, "The best way in which to defend against these attacks is for organisations to make themselves as hard a target as possible. That demands urgency from every business leader. Hesitation is a vulnerability. The future of their businesses depends on the action those business leaders take today. The time to act is now." In response to the rising threat and in the wake of high-profile cyber incidents, the government has written to CEOs and chairs of leading businesses, including all of the FTSE 350 companies, duly highlighting the importance of government and business working hand-in-hand to protect the UK's economy and make cyber resilience a board-level responsibility. Our first guest on this edition of the podcast is Julie Barker, Chief Operating Officer at the Association of University Chief Security Officers. At the University of Brighton, Julie introduced a campus security model in conjunction with Sussex Police, securing funding for warranted officers to enhance student safety. Across time, Julie has served on national boards, including the National Apprenticeship Board, and is an active member of the Public Sector Alliance. On this occasion, Julie examines the work of the Association of University Chief Security Officers and the challenges facing university security teams when it comes to delivering on Martyn's Law. Thank you very much for joining us on the podcast, Julie. Security plays a rather unique frontline service role in the university environment. How do you see security developing as a proactive and well-being focused element of the student support ecosystem?
The sector as a whole, I think, is very much a community people business. Evolution is already happening within the sector. We've seen that over the last decade, at the very least, where we've seen a shift from reactive to a proactive environment. The student experience is a key driver and has been for a number of years within higher education and further education. And it's seen now as one of our responsibilities is to respond to that agenda student experience. And parents, students, carers consider safety and well-being as part of their tick list or criteria when looking at campuses for study for their young people. So we're less now about security alarms and securing of buildings as our core function. It's more about well-being and proactive planning and strategy. I think it's more than reasonable to say that we're now a broader ecosystem. We are first point of contact, we are early intervention, we're a point of referral. We now engage with quite a number of mental health issues on campus. So we undertake quite a lot of mental health training, suicide intervention training, de-escalation training. So it's not just enforcement anymore. So the evolution of the sector has been ongoing now for a number of years. And I think part of that means that we've had to adapt what we do, and our role has grown and become more strategic. So as a sector, we're developing programs and strategies, engaging with the campus community on safety initiatives, whether that be educating students on local bylaws. I think we easily forget that we've got students coming from not just within the UK, but outside of the UK and internationally, where not only are they at a strange geographical location in the UK, but a strange country. They don't understand the laws and the bylaws of where they've moved to. So there is a number of projects that we engage with there, general safety tips, personal safety tips, information on drugs and alcohol, spiking, well-being, safe routes home, all sorts of projects, strategies and programs that we have in place on campuses. And it's not just about students, it's about our staff base and our visitors and delegates that come onto campus as well. And there inevitably will be events that we've not planned for, but we've got really well trained, engaged teams in place. And alongside those policies and procedures and strategies that we put in place that are there to support them, we're, I think, in a very good position at the moment, but an evolving position as well, with that breadth of our work changing and growing.
What are the biggest challenges for universities when it comes to translating the Martyn's Law legislation into day-to-day operational practice? And where do you see opportunities for the sector to lead rather than just concentrate on compliance?
A very good question, Brian. The detail currently is the biggest challenge. We are within the sector, within the public sector, we tend to have long lead-in times in respect of policy changes and investments. We are very bureaucratic. The emergence of the statutory guidance and the details that will be contained within it will be the catalyst to understanding what we need to do. The devil's in the details, as ever. I think that's one of the biggest challenges we've got currently. But we also need to do some thinking about our relationship with third parties on campus. There's quite a number of organisations that operate within our campuses, whether that's a nightclub, whether that's a supermarket or a Costa Coffee or one of the retail chain, whether it's a nighttime economy chain, whether it's a sports arena, sports centres, animal labs, research facilities, big science organisations, student accommodation, hotels, and of course the NHS, where we operate teaching hospitals on campus. So those relationships and the legal agreements that sit alongside those third parties that operate on campus, I think, is a piece of work where the sector needs to be dusting off those agreements now and engaging with those parties to agree and understand what the operational practices will look like once Martyn's Law is rolled out. So I think that's one of the big issues that could easily be forgotten or underestimated, particularly given how long it could take to get some of those legal changes on documents and leases and other arrangements that are in place with third parties. So I think that's a key thing and a key challenge for us. But I think at the moment we are waiting for the statutory guidance, which will give us the detail on what we are required to do and will be required to do going forward. I believe, to be honest, we're generally in a reasonably good place within the sector with our existing infrastructure and our teams and processes. However, I'm also mindful of those smaller institutions that do not have the same level of infrastructure as some of the bigger universities. That is where I believe we as an organisation can support them through our network, through our training, our support, our guidance that we can produce and good practice.
ORCSA is recognised as a leading voice on security for the further and higher education sectors worldwide. In what ways will the organisation's role progress in the coming years, and particularly so in relation to the international membership?
Our international members are really important, probably represent around 30% of the overall membership. And each one of them regions offers something really unique and different, but with one single thing in common: it's our students. Our environment, it's what we do. We are in higher education. So students are the common denominator. And although the international colleagues face the same challenges as we do in the UK, they just come with different nuances, particularly legal and government differences from what we have in the UK. But we benefit immensely from their input as much as they do from our input. So in today's volatile geopolitical environment, I think it's now even more important than ever for us to share our voices and collaborate. I think we'll see more organic growth across Western Europe, in particular Australasia and potentially North America. But within our structure within ORCSA, we have regional chairs for each region. So we'd have a regional chair for Australia, for example, and one for Europe. And information is shared upwards, downwards, and across those networks. We also hold annual conferences in Australia, Europe, and the UK. So we've got very strong networks and very strong collaboration across those regions, which is incredibly valuable. But I think our shared voices, our common audience, are the key pieces of that jigsaw on seeing how we grow as we go forward.
As an organisation, ORCSA has long championed the professional development of campus security teams. What initiatives or programmes are realising the biggest impact when it comes to raising standards?
Training and development is, as we all know, it's quite often the first thing that's lost in a budget when there's any reductions in budgets annually. It's very easy to take away some of the funding for training and development. I think a number of organisations across the sector have suffered from that, and I think we've been trying to certainly plug some of them gaps. We've also got larger organisations that have got larger budgets for training and development. So we do see ourselves as filling a gap in some of those areas. Training and development within higher education, just by nature of what we are educators. So there's lots of internal opportunities within the HE sector to benefit from courses both at HE and FE level internally, but also professionally. Lots of courses, and we certainly within ORCSA, we've just launched a programme of e-learning courses which covers a broad range of skills that's required within the sector. I mean, as a whole, we provide an extensive range of training. The course itself covers from fraud awareness, active bystander, neurodiversity, freedom of speech, prevent consent on campus, mental health training. We've got 25 courses available currently, which offers a fantastic opportunity to upskill staff, and particularly important for those smaller organisations within the sector who have limited resources, or to act as refreshers for those larger organisations, or for new staff coming on board where we're recruiting, particularly at this time of year, where it's typically our busiest time of the year. We've just had the last 3 weeks, and still ongoing depending where you are across the UK, freshers. So we've got Arrivals Week, Freshers Week, and the busiest term for HE is the time now between now and Christmas. So it's incredibly busy. So having the opportunity to train staff, new recruits, is challenging at this time of the year. So an e-learning module of courses that covers the key skills that we require is particularly important. So we're really thrilled to have launched that programme fairly recently, and we'll continue to develop that programme over the next 2 to 3 years so that we can offer what we feel our members need for our environments with the breadth of skills and training that's required, given the breadth of knowledge and issues that we face within our sector, which is, we would say, as like any business would say, we're unique, but we deal with a diverse range of issues on campus under the label of safety. University campuses are similar to small towns, so the incidents and issues that we deal with on campus are broad. It could be that you are the counsellor, you are the referral point, you're the person that shows them how to use a laundry machine, to the one that's enforcing rules. We've got large environments within, large communities within the sector. Some universities, 50, 60,000 students on campus. Average university is probably between 20, 25,000 students on campus. You take in staff base and visitors on campus. They're large environments to try and manage when we're looking at safety and well-being. And for students, of course, this is their home. This is where they're going to live. They could be arriving from an international base. There could be a home base, coming to a strange environment. So we deal with all sorts and everything, which does mean that our training needs to represent that, and our staff base needs to represent not just the diversity of our community, but also the size of the community and the diversity of the work that's involved. So we're not typically a security guard function. It is more a safety and well-being function. It's more a customer care, customer focused function. So our training reflects that need. So I think that for us, the training that we develop and the training that we launch is trying to reflect the diversity of our communities that we work within.
Collaboration with government, industry bodies and law enforcement is clearly of great importance for UXO, Julie. Can you share any examples of where partnership working has delivered tangible benefits for your members?
The key message, I would say, that with all third parties that we engage with, my message to them is about understanding our sector, understanding the size of the sector, the complexity of the sector, the audience. Information, I think, is king here. The more organisations understand the sector, the more benefit there is to all parties. I think collaboration will be even more important as Martyn's Law comes forward. The engagement and collaboration with emergency services, within industry, NHS, topical, we was talking about that this morning. A number of universities are linked to teaching hospitals, but of course the NHS operates very differently to higher education sector, yet we're potentially on the same site, we have the same people in the same buildings, you potentially got patients, NHS and students in the same room. So collaboration and how we operate within those areas is paramount. It's incredibly important. You know, we can't operate in silos. Efficiencies, I think, there's an agenda, an emerging agenda about joint working and shared services and the benefits in some of those areas. And I think for the sector, it's something that is being actively looked at. And there's some great examples of shared services and joint working with, in particular, emergency services, the police in particular, whether that be funded officers, a collaboration, formal collaboration with officers on campus, utilising some of the training initiatives through police and other services. Government agencies, we've been talking with Department for Education on Martyn's Law for probably about 18 months now. So I firmly believe that they are in a good place on understanding what the higher education sector and landscape looks like to then inform Home Office and others on policy and some of the legislative pieces. So I think as we go forward, we will see hopefully the fruits of that collaboration and that engagement in how the statutory guidance, the details in the statutory guidance and what that looks like for Martyn's Law.
Finally, the recruitment and retention of skilled professionals is an industry-wide challenge. What do you believe today's organisations need to do differently in order to attract and then retain the right talent?
I'm incredibly passionate about skills and education. I think this particular environment and this particular profession is struggling, as we know, nationally with recruitment. I think within our sector, given what I've mentioned today about the breadth of the work we do, I think for us it's changing the narrative. It's reflecting on the needs of the business, the breadth of the work, and looking at the terminology. So safety team rather than security. I think security officer gives a different impression of the role as opposed to campus safety officer or some kind of formal title like that. And I guess ensuring that the recruitment packs that are drafted talk about the breadth of the work, the customer engagement, the education pieces of our work, as well as the enforcing the rules. There is a lot of really great work that goes on within the HE sector around that customer engagement. Actually, what we're looking for is customer focused soft skills alongside those negotiating skills, alongside some of those hard issues that we have to deal with. But I think that customer focused soft skills, negotiating skills, flexibility on hours, offering part-time hours, terms and conditions, looking at terms and conditions, pay and benefits. And of course, actually, as we've talked today about training being key. If we can train our people and give them the right skills, yeah, of course, we might lose them to another job where they get promoted or they take on a managerial role. But that's the good news story, that we've got them in that position to move onwards and upwards. But I think we just need to be flexible. We need to be changing the narrative. We need to be looking at the soft skills as much as any other skills as we look to recruit going forward.
Returning to the news now, and the Security Guarding Leadership Group has been formed to raise industry standards, assist in shaping sector policy, accelerate the implementation of critical legislation, and ensure that a range of voices can be heard with a view towards informing future decisions. The S12 Group brings together a dedicated team of elected leaders from across the security industry. Serving as chair is Paul Evans, the CEO at Carlisle Security, while Peter Harrison, the founder and managing director of FGH Security, takes on the role of deputy chair. Additional members of the S12 Group include Gary Culloden, Managing Director for Security at Mighty, Tim Kendall, the President of G4S Secure Solutions in the UK and Ireland, and John McCaskill, Director of Security and Export at the British Security Industry Association. City Security Council founder David Ward and Richard Fogelman, CEO at the National Security Inspectorate, have agreed to take on observation and governance roles. The inaugural meeting of the S12 Group took place on the 1st of October at London's Olympia during the 2025 edition of the International Security Expo. There was an address by Security Minister Dan Jarvis. Going forward, the group will regularly engage with Jarvis, representatives of the Homeland Security Operation at the Home Office, and also representatives from the Security Industry Authority. The core aim is to drive the highest professional standards, drawing on industry-wide data and insights from trade associations, and also support the establishment of the Security Skills Academy. Each S12 member is going to lead on at least one industry initiative and seek to create enlarged sub-working groups. Transparent records of all objectives and actions will be accessible on the new S12 website, to be found at www.securityleaders.co.uk. Western Business Media, the publisher of Security Matters and its sister titles in the security sector, namely Professional Security Installer, Benchmark and Risk Extra, in addition to Fire Safety Matters, has announced that the entry process is now open for the Fire and Security Matters Awards 2026. Organised by Western Business Media, the Fire and Security Matters Awards enjoyed a record number of entries in 2025 for their fourth iteration, while upwards of 800 guests attended the sold-out awards ceremony. In 2026, the Fire and Security Matters Awards are once again free to enter and duly recognise excellence and innovation in the fire and security sectors. The headline sponsor is the BAFE Fire Safety Register. Our sponsors also include Apollo Fire Detectors, the Association of Security Consultants, EMS, High Fire, Suprema, the Fire Safety Event and the Security Event. The winners of the Fire and Security Matters Awards 2026 will be revealed at a gala black tie dinner and ceremony to be held at the CBS Arena in Coventry on the 2nd of July. Security-focused categories include Security Manufacturer of the Year, Security Guarding Company of the Year, Security Installation Company of the Year, Security Consultancy of the Year, and Security Team of the Year. It only takes a few minutes to enter the Fire and Security Matters Awards. This is the perfect way in which to gain much-deserved recognition for either yourself, your team, a colleague, your organisation, a product or service, or a specific project. Visit the website at www.firesecurityawards.com for more information and to submit your entries. Our second guest on episode 36 of the Security Matters podcast is Findlay Whitelaw, Security Research Specialist and Strategist at Exabeam, the business that provides security analytics and instant response solutions. Findlay is a recognised thought leader, specialising in insider threat and security operations, with her career to date spanning consultancy and leadership roles. A published author and award-winning practitioner, Findlay's professional interests include tackling human-centric cyber risks and leveraging advanced technologies to address modern challenges. Her research and practical insights empower organisations to strengthen resilience and also manage insider threats in what's now an ever-evolving digital landscape. During our interview, Findlay examines the insider risk, espionage and data theft and observes how today's organisations can mitigate the threat. Welcome to the podcast, Findlay. How are nation-state threat actors exploiting cultural grievances to recruit insiders, would you say?
Okay, so what we are seeing with nation-state actors is they are very good at spotting and exploiting grievances or vulnerabilities in people. In particular, if someone feels angry, alienated, or just let down by their employer or by society for that matter, that's exactly the kind of person who becomes attractive to them. Recruitment doesn't necessarily start with, hardened criminals. It can start with impressionable or disillusioned individuals who are simply looking for meaning or purpose or recognition. People rationalising wrongdoing because they feel angry or disconnected, disgruntled, You can see how the same internal drivers make someone far more open to manipulation from outside. And tactics can be subtle, fake recruiters, social media approaches, even ideology drivers, where people feel their grievances are validated. It's not just about money anymore for people, it's about their value systems, it's about their identity and their sense of belonging.
Whether we're talking about unwitting individuals, disgruntled members of staff, or those motivated by some form of ideology, how are they contributing towards espionage and the risk of data theft?
Okay, so I think it's really important to remember that there isn't just one type of insider. At one end of the spectrum, for example, you've got the unwitting insider, someone who clicks on the phishing link or shares information without realising the consequences. And then you've got, say, the disgruntled insider who feels wronged by their employer or that organisational system and rationalised by breaking the rules as payback. And then you've got the ideology, or the ideological motivated insider who acts out of grievance rather than anger. But what links all of these together is that idea of rationalisation. Individuals telling themselves the story that makes the actions acceptable to them. As I said, it's fighting the cause, making a point, or feeling that sense of entitlement, for example. And this perception of injustice can tip someone into justifying behaviour that they would never normally consider. So in short, discontent gives them motive. And when it comes to, say, data theft or espionage type activities, these drivers lower the barrier to make harmful behaviour feel acceptable in the insider or in the individual's own mind.
What industries or sectors are most vulnerable to insider espionage in today's world, and how should organisations look to address this particular form of threat?
Okay, so the sectors most vulnerable are typically ones that hold, say, national or significant data, commercially sensitive IP. So you're looking at defence, finance, energy, healthcare, technology, telecoms, etc. Those industries are certainly prime targets, but that's not to say that other industries are exempt. We've seen an increase of attacks in, say, manufacturing and retail and supply chains. How should they handle this? First, it can't be a compliance exercise. If organisations only focus on tick box monitoring, they're fueling, the grievances and discontent. Instead, I'd suggest a layered approach with advanced technologies like user entity behavioural analytics, which can provide the capability for early warning signs. That, coupled with insider threat strategies like building and maintaining good organisational cultures and trust with employees, providing well-being, support and reporting mechanisms, also committing to sustainable awareness and training programmes so employees know when they might be targeted, is also a useful and a holistic approach, and I think that's certainly needed.
How can business leaders mitigate the issue of risk without compromising trust in the organisation?
Okay, so I think this is one of the hardest questions for leaders because if you go too far with monitoring, you can create resentment or a culture that is poor, and they may feel aggrieved by that. Individuals who feel, say, mistrusted or alienated can then start to rationalise this bad behaviour. But then on the other hand, if you don't monitor enough, or you trust too easily in your organisation, you certainly risk missing the signals and leaving the organisation and its customers and the rest of the staff exposed not only to cyber threats but personnel risks too. The balance, I think, needs to be proportionate, purposeful, and certainly aligned to the organisation and to their operational risks, considering their wider threat landscape. It's about probably combining technology, trust and openness and support in the right ways. Technology will pick up signals, but trust and culture is where that stops grievances or discontentment, taking hold in the first place. So for me, it's not about choosing between monitoring and trust. It's about, organisations having the ability to weave them together.
And as we look ahead, Findlay, how do you see the insider threat evolving?
So I think insider threats are only going to get more complex. We have already seen nation states being bolder about recruitment. They're looking for anyone with access or organisational links who are perhaps vulnerable, whether it's a younger person or someone inside an organisation who is perhaps disgruntled, carrying a grievance, for example. But what worries me is how AI changes the game. AI is giving, adversaries new tools to weaponize, which makes it so much harder for individuals to be able to tell what is real and what isn't. For example, deepfakes and voice cloning, etc. So yes, espionage and recruitment need to be on the radar. Grievance, discontent and the search for belonging can drive people to rationalise extreme actions. And the very same internal drivers that, if they arise in an organisation, can be exploited and turned into insider threats. What I would like to see is, and just to kind of round up, is from an organisational perspective, spotting patterns is critical. Advanced analytical tools can help flag the anomalies, changes in access patterns and unusual kind of data movement, etc., or behavioural changes. When I talk about this convergence, I see analytics and user entity behavioural analytics as a power detection enabler because they allow us to see early changes, as I said. But I also think it's important that we are honest and say that these advanced technologies aren't a silver bullet. It's critical and it's a critical component in the toolkit, but organisations absolutely need the layered defences, as I've spoken about, the culture, awareness and trust alongside these technologies.
That brings us to the end of this edition of the Security Matters podcast. Many thanks indeed to Julie Barker at the Association of University Chief Security Officers and Findlay Whitelaw from Exabeam for their time and insight. Many thanks also to our podcast sponsor, The Security Event. The Security Event runs from the 28th to the 30th of April 2026 at the NEC in Birmingham. To register for the show, visit www.thesecurityevent.co.uk. Don't forget to visit our website at www.securitymattersmagazine.com, where you can access all of our podcasts and also read the latest news and opinion from the security business sector. You can view our dedicated features content and also sign up to receive our very popular weekly news bulletin. Please do contact us if there are any key themes or issues you would like us to explore on upcoming editions of the podcast. You can do so on X, formerly Twitter of course, by using the hashtag SecurityPod. On that note, make sure you follow us on X at WBMSecMatters and access our LinkedIn page at Security Matters. Please do like and share the podcast content and spread the word among your industry colleagues. You can listen to the Security Matters podcast for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube or Podbean. To download the Security Matters podcast, all you need to do is enter the term Security Matters into your chosen platform search box. We'll see you next time.